Hello, hello, here we go, it's the Copyright Podcast.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Copyright Podcast and episode 2 of Player Profiles. We did Luis Suarez for episode 1 and people enjoyed it. Got a few nice comments on that, just reminiscing on the craziness that was Luis Suarez and his Liverpool career and even his career before and after that. But I put a poll up on Twitter after that to see who people wanted next. It was either Gerrard, Torres or Fowler, and then or other, and we got a few like other shouts, which were a few were like Jan Molby and Rob Jones. A few good shouts, to be fair. Which we might get round to doing at some point. But I thought this one would be the best because Gerrard won the poll, of course, by I think it was like 65% of the votes. So where we are, Steven Gerrard, episode 2, Player Profiles. I'm Mick, and I'm joined by Kristian once again. How you doing, lad?
Yeah, good. And talking about the one and only Steven Gerrard is obviously something that is just brilliant. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of like stats and stuff, I've got one which I'll throw up on screen because I think people did quite enjoy the visuals, because I know some people like to prefer to listen if they're at work or whatever, which is fair enough, and we still appreciate you listening. But you get the visuals on on YouTube, of course. So I thought we'd just throw this one up, just as like a little basic starter. Obviously born 30th of May 1980 in Wiston. Bought from local. I think that just sounds funny. Like it just sounds like the local shop down the road we bought them from. Yeah, so Liverpool debut 29th of November 1998. Total of 710 Liverpool games, 186 goals, 145 assists, and then as you can see there, quite a few honours and individual honours as well, which we'll get on into as we go along. But I've just thought we'd obviously start like we did with the Suarez one, just best starting at the beginning, and the beginning of Steven Gerrard's career, which was obviously in 1998 there, like we just said. And obviously, so let's just break it down to basics. How old were you in 1998, Kristian? Just to put it in perspective, how young we were back then, both of us.
Yeah, in 98, I was 12. So,
wow.
I born 1986. So, 96 and 98, yeah. I'm thinking 96, I was 10 and I can't remember much around then, and I can't remember much. I guess, when I was 12, 13, that's when I was like really getting into football. I think we said it last time as well, but yeah, I was 12. So, that was, a time where you started to be actually influenced by football in a way. You actually started to care more than you did before. You actually start to understand the game a bit, and you start to have your own idols and heroes and all that in a proper way, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm 89. I'm just an 80s baby by 2 months. So I was 9 when Gerrard was breaking through. So similar, like I was just starting to, obviously, like Jamie Redknapp and whatever else before him, who were like the ones that you shouted when you hit a shot on the volley. You were like Redknapp, and then obviously that then became Gerrard for not just Liverpool fans, but for everyone up and down the country and over the world. When kids playing on the schoolyard playing footy, just screaming their idols' names when you hit a rasper towards the goal. But obviously, let's just discuss like obviously his first team debut, which was on the 29th of November 1998, used as a late substitute in the Premier League match against Blackburn. He made 13 appearances in his debut season, replacing injured captain Jamie Redknapp in central midfield. He also occasionally played on the right wing, but scarcely contributed in the short match time he received, which he attributed to nerves. And I'm just full disclosure, I'm using Wikipedia as my fountain of knowledge again. So that's just all. This is all right. It's all sound. It's all good. It's all got the green light. Gerrard. So Gerrard basically in 2008 in an interview with The Guardian said, obviously on his beginnings and how it started and stuff, he said, I was out of position and out of my depth. And we were talking, obviously, just before we started recording this about like, it's a different world now, isn't it? Like Gerrard was very raw, obviously very leggy, like great engine, but flying into tackles and playing in the way, obviously, of the 90s. Like, you had to be a midfielder, you had to be strong in the tackle, you had to be quick, you had to show no fear, flying into challenges, doing all kinds, and running good engine on you, all those type of things. But he was very raw, wasn't he, when he first broke through? And I think, obviously, his game just became on a different level as he got older and older, like it does for most really good players that start out as a good youngster. But what are your earliest memories of maybe that year or the first couple of years when you saw Gerrard?
The thing is, like, when you're looking back now on that time, you've seen so many clips from his debut and stuff like that, so you can't really remember if you actually saw it happen or not, because that was, like I said, I was 12. But the difference with nowadays is that obviously now you have social media, you have ways of follow every young player, their private lives, what they're doing, their progress and everything. So you can actually, follow them on whatever, Twitter, Instagram, and see what they're doing. Back then you couldn't. So, I didn't have a clue about Steven Gerrard when he made his debut. And you were like, even when he just kept on playing and making, a few games here and there. And obviously I was that young, but you were like, who's this? You didn't have a clue if he was a big talent, or obviously he was playing for Liverpool, but, was he that great of a talent, or was he just, a kid that got a chance? Today, you actually know who's going to be, the big star in the under, 18s and 19s and 20s or whatever. But back then, you couldn't really know that, especially like me, a kid from Sweden, not being, in Liverpool or around the youth teams back then. So here we didn't get the same kind of, news from the clubs. You had the odd magazines and whatever, but, you didn't get the news like you do today. So you didn't know what you was to expect, but obviously made it quite clear quite quickly that he was something special. Like you said, he was raw. He threw himself into situations with stupid tackles, but he showed that he wanted to fight for his place. He showed that he wanted to be part of the Liverpool team, and obviously as a local kid as well, being from Liverpool and all that, it was something special. You can see that he can actually play ball as well, so it was something there, but you didn't know where it was going to go, because you can never know from the start. But what a journey it turned out to be in the end. So yeah, that was my first memories, just this kid, like you said, just showing non-respect and being a little bit raw and dangerous, if you like, because you never knew what was going to happen. But as time went by, you could see that he just progressed every game that he played.
Yeah, I think I remember, I've seen the clip a few times, obviously, on Twitter now and again, where it's like he's coming on for like his debut appearance, and he just looks like probably about 9 stone, like just really thin, just like a proper mop of hair on his head, like a proper. Yeah, just looking really nervous, and just like, oh my God, this kid went on to be, in my opinion, in my lifetime anyway, the best player I've ever seen in terms of just dragging us to levels that we shouldn't have really been at, and he did it basically on his own for most of it. But so going into the next season, then obviously Gerrard regularly partnered Redknapp in midfield for the 99-2000 season. And then, like you said, red cards. After starting the Merseyside derby on the bench, he replaced Robbie Fowler in the second half, receiving his first red card for a challenge on Kevin Campbell. And that was one of them where it's like we're saying flying into tackles. That was like so high up on the leg. It's like basically like it was like a drop kick from wrestling. Fair enough.
Yeah, I've seen the clips from it. Like I said, you've seen so many clips of Steven Gerrard, so sometimes you can't remember if you actually saw it happen. I don't think I did, because I was like that young, and you didn't have so many games on TV as you do now here in Sweden and across Europe or the world. But you've seen all the clips, from his, the best Steven Gerrard tackles, the best Steven Gerrard goals, and all that. So that tackle is probably in there, and I've seen it a couple of times. It's not very nice, but yeah, it's an Evertonian, so just get him down there.
Well, at the time, like I mean, even for the time, it was a bit mad, because obviously it's still got a red card, but the venom was in keeping with the tackles in like the early 90s, late 90s. That was like just the way footy was, like, and you just got up and got on with it. Most of the time, most players just were like, "Yeah, you snap me, I'll snap you back." Sound, shake your hand at the end of the match, get on with it. But yeah, later that season, Gerrard scored his first senior goal in a 4-1 victory over Sheffield Wednesday, and that was like his first goal. But that was obviously when you look back and you see clips now and stuff, that was like a real moment of quality, wasn't it? The way he picked it up and he slalomed past a few players. I think I think it's Des Walker he leaves behind as well. Des Walker was a really, really decent player as well. He just leaves him behind and then slots it bottom corner, which is like, you look back and you think that was obviously a sign of great things to come, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that goal itself, when you're talking about it, and every time you've seen it, it's like you can see the kind of powerhouse that he is. He just pushes through with. He's a little bit bigger than he was obviously when he came on for his debut. He's a little bit bigger. He got more pace, obviously more confident and all that. Got his place in the team, and just go through and score that goal. And everything is about power when you see him. It's more power in his early days, in terms of how he played his game. A little bit more of a chance and stuff, but he just went with it. Like, if I do this, then it's going to be okay. So he just goes in with a lot of power in his first couple of seasons with Liverpool, which I liked because, it was something that you sometimes needed. Just something of fresh air, just coming in and just showing all this, grit as well. He's always having a hard work rate and running loads, tackles. So sometimes out of positions, in losing space or whatever, that could be a threat for Liverpool as well. But he kind of learned his trade in that way as well. But that first goal was brilliant, and you saw that first goal, and you couldn't even imagine all the goals that was going to come, to be honest. Because
the amount of just crazy, when you look at like best goals, there's just so many, just like 30 yarders, 40 yarders, just, and that was one that you go, right, that was the start of obviously him being just like, I think he was, in terms of like overall games and stuff, I don't know, like the old Gerrard Lampard Scholes thing, and there's like, well, Scholes has won more, Lampard's won more, and it's like, well, discussing like a player being like a complete player, I think obviously, but at that stage we would never have thought he'd be as good as he was. But I think that was a good sign that he had pace, he had power, he had good shooting ability, and obviously that three of his key attributes for why he was so good and so versatile as well. Could play pretty much everywhere on the pitch, really, and that's the biggest compliment you could play him. He could play anywhere, and he'd give you a solid 7 or 8 out of 10 every week, that's how good he was.
But that's the thing, like you say now, if you compare him to Lampard's goals or other players in that position in a midfield, or even later on with Pirlo's and Xavi's, Iniestas. Well, maybe Pirlo and Gerrard is in the same kind of age, but Xavi's, Iniestas, and all them. They are great players. Everyone, we can talk about Xabi Alonso and Thiago. Midfield maestros, if you like. Some are really good scoring goals. Some are really good passing around and directing the game. Some can, like Lampard, do loads of assists and goals. He was great in coming out in front of the box and score goals, Lampard. But you can never ask him to play on a right midfield or a right back or that kind of position. Gerrard can always do that, like you said, and he would always do 8 or 9 out of 10, or even a 10. He would never do a bad game. Like I said, when he was young, he could be out of position, doing a little bit stupid things. But as time went on, he kind of learned all the positions as well, and you just knew that he was going to do the job. And that's why I rate him, without having my Liverpool glasses on, being, just thinking, if I had to pick someone to play in the midfield that was actually a complete football player that could do everything, I can ask him to, go in and fight for me. I can ask him to do all the, great slide tackles. I can ask him to pass the ball and switch to play. I can ask him to go for long shots. I can ask him to, play behind the striker. You have Steven Gerrard, so he's the complete midfielder, and he will always be number one for me in comparison with the others I mentioned before. They were great in other ways, and probably in some aspects even more world class when it comes to maybe passing or being really smooth playing, like Xavi and Iniesta. But if you want a player with everything, then you have to pick Steven Gerrard.
Definitely. absolute legend in terms of what everything he can do. Just ticked all the boxes, didn't he? That's why we loved him so much. But let's jump back a little bit because we're getting ahead of ourselves here with the the late Gerrard. We want to go. We're not going to take an hour like with the Suarez one. We're going to try and go through it quickly.
We're just like Gerrard in his early days, but he's a little bit out of position.
Yeah. Fast forward to Istanbul. There you go.
Exactly.
But yeah, he was so obviously that season he was getting persistent back problems, which were later diagnosed as a result of accelerated growth, coupled with excessive playing during his teenage years, and obviously had a load of growing injuries that required 4 separate operations. And I forgot to mention as well, like at the beginning, we didn't mention before, like he became a pro. Like in his autobiography, he like mentions like he stands on like a garden fork, and his toe might have had to been amputated, or a toe, or his actual foot. It might have been just his toe actually. But I remember reading that and thinking, bloody hell, imagine that would have happened, and his career would have just not happened, and we would have had a Steven Gerrard hole in our midfield for all these years. Like what would we have done? Would have been fucking
yeah.
crazy.
I think it was his dad and Steve Highway who actually said, you won't take that toe off. It won't happen because he's going to become a star.
Yeah, you can't just be sound. Be sound. Just
make sure you just heal that toe.
But yeah, obviously moving in 2000 and 2001 season, Gerrard made 50 starts in all comps, scoring 10 goals. That season, he won his first major honours, of course. That season was just amazing, especially for the time. Liverpool weren't winning that much, so to get the FA Cup and the League Cup and the UEFA Cup, scoring in the final in the UEFA Cup as well, it was just a great year, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's where you actually saw the Gerrard that we got used to later on. Like that's where you actually saw the abilities that he had. He took it to another level that season by scoring in the finals, playing so many games. Is it the season when he actually scored that, screamer against Man United as well, or is that the season after or before? I can't remember. They actually, get like a ball from foul and just shoots it from distance over Bartels.
That's the year after, I think.
Okay. But that's like, when he started to, become that kind of player that you just fell in love with. And like I said, we were like really young when he made his debut. But the years to come, you were playing yourself when you were like 14, 15, like years of age. And you were still young, but starting to, play a little bit more serious football. But everything you want to be was Steven Gerrard. That was like, if you saw him play during the weekend, you want to go and do what he did on the training pitch. You can just say like, oh, okay, I want to be Steven Gerrard. If I'm going to play football, I'm going to be like him. That's the kind of player he was. He just was so, he just made, and especially me, it was just made me. If I'm going to be a footballer, that's just Steven Gerrard I want to be, because he just took another level, and he was brilliant that season when we won the treble.
Yeah,
still really young as well.
Yeah, exactly. Still really young, and I think I just said then. I don't know if I did, obviously, because I can't look, but I'm sure I said he scored the winner in the UEFA Cup final. I'm just talking shit. He obviously didn't ignore that. He scored in the final, obviously, but he didn't score the winner because that was the crazy 5-4 win over Alaves, wasn't it? And it was the golden goal that we won it with. But
yeah,
Gerrard scored in it as well.
Yeah.
And then the following season, he won the Charity Shield and the Super Cup. But I haven't got his honours as a screenshot, but I just thought we'd let me have a look. So yeah, obviously UEFA Cup, Super Cup and FA Cup that year, and the League Cup. Yeah, so the Super Cup was the year after, wasn't it? Obviously.
Yeah, because we won the UEFA Cup and
we won the Super Cup after. Obviously.
We must have. Did we beat like Bayern Munich or something like that? I can't remember.
I don't know. You should be doing your research, Kristian. You should be doing your research.
Yeah, but it's too far back. I can't.
To be fair, yeah. I mean, I'm just going off this because this is the easiest way to do it. But like sometimes stuff's missed out. Yeah. So let me have a look actually at his stats for those years, because I haven't got screenshots of them. So if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, you're not missing out this time. So 2000 to 2001, 2003. Well, 50 appearances, 10 goals. The year after, 45 appearances, 4 goals. So, I mean, the goals, so he gets 10 and then he gets 4. And it's like 7, 6, 13, 23. So they start to get more, but I suppose that's as he gets a bit more into those positions and he starts to be maybe more of a 10 sometimes as well. But in March 2003, I think this is the one you're on about, Gerrard scored the opening goal in the club's 2-win over Man United in the League Cup final. Is that the one you're thinking of?
I don't know if it was in the cup final or if it's just a Premier League game, to be honest. But it's just a screamer, he just shoots from a distance over the boxes.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, you're thinking of the league game where Fowler and Gerrard both score, and we win 2-0. Fowler assists Gerrard, and then
exactly.
Gerrard assists Fowler.
Because that's also one of the goals where where I remember being a kid just thinking, wow. I was just like,
smacked it,
I love Steven Gerrard. I want to be him. That's why, where I remember, because that's where you were like just like 14 or whatever. So, it's just like I said, that's where you started to notice that he's actually something else. Like he's something extra. How good can he, become? What will it, will he be the player who, will turn Liverpool into, a team of glory again and all that, because you can see that he just took step after step really, really quickly. Every season he became better, even though he didn't maybe score as many goals. Again, like after the season where he scored 10, but in terms of being, on the pitch, playing in a regular in the team, you see that, he's one of the greatest talents in the Premier League. So I just remember, those goals that he started to score, and you just remember like, holy shit, this young kid is really, really good.
Well, while you've been talking, I've just been looking through his goals because it's going to be hard to cover everything because there's just so much. Because I think even in the Suarez one we missed loads of stuff, but
it's just a general chat of some, for the players that we had, and we don't want to be too much like going into statistics and all the numbers. We just want to talk about the emotion and the nostalgia of it.
Yeah. So basically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8th, 9th. So that was the Man United goal we're talking about, that belter top corner. He played right mid that game, and that was only his 9th Liverpool goal. I just find that like fascinating when you look back and you like Chef Wed. We just been talking about that was his first. So it's only 8 goals after that, which for me seems like it's not that long, but it seems like a bigger gap where he's played more games and scored more goals, but he obviously didn't. I think that's just fascinating when you look back to see. He was still really, really young and just like popping up with just belters that were a sign of things to come in terms of how good he was from shooting from range, shooting from free kicks. But let's go to, so what did I say? March 2003. Scored the opening goal in the club's 2-0 win over Man United in the League Cup final at Cardiff, which is obviously very nice. League Cup isn't like the most. You don't want to write home about that because it's not the biggest thing. But at the time, I suppose, like winning all those trophies in 2000, 2001, just to keep getting trophies over the line. Because I think we've mentioned it before. I think we might have mentioned it on the Suarez one, like where I think you mentioned it actually on the Suarez one, where we still managed to pick up trophies here and there, even though we weren't that good. And that was something that was Liverpool were really good at, wasn't it?
Yeah, because like you said, we had the treble season, we had a League Cup like early 2000s, like you said, now with Gerrard scoring, and then we had a few coming, like we will talk about the 2005, the 2006 Steven Gerrard final. We'll get there, and then obviously it took a few years until we won the League Cup in 2012, as we mentioned in the Suarez episode, where we picked up that trophy again, and it didn't take that long until obviously with the Klopp era and what we achieved. But we can talk about quite many years in one way, but we have always been able to pick up a few cups here and there until we won the Premier League again. So it's always been nice in that way that Liverpool maybe didn't have the best teams for some seasons, and then they had a great team and were close in the end, but we always managed to get like silverware, which some clubs, I think I said Tottenham in the Suarez.
You did, yeah.
And I will do it again because they are the best example of being could be a great team for a season or 2 or 3 but never won anything. and then they were maybe losing some players, and they were, you know, a little bit worse, and then they come back, but they still didn't pick up that kind of cups and things. But we did, and it was always nice, even when we had a team that we didn't really think that we're going to challenge. You know, we still won like an FA Cup or a League Cup or whatever, and that was nice. Especially said, you know, early in Steven Gerrard's career when he won the treble and the League Cup. You know, you can actually say, you know, there was like a new generation of a Liverpool when he came in. Even if there was some players of like Steven Gerrard and Michael Owen, obviously being in that generation with Jamie Carragher as well. It was like three youngsters from the academy that actually broke through and actually played regularly for Liverpool. And with Steven Gerrard and Michael Owen obviously being the world-class players, even Michael Owen ahead of Steven Gerrard in the start. But, you know, it was just nice to see, you know, these three players being in the team that actually start to win things again. We hope that they probably should have won more together, but, you know, it wasn't to be. But like you said, we won some few cups, and you know, it's always great, so you can't complain about it.
Yeah, and just looking through his goals again, just quickly, because I don't want to miss any goals. Now you mentioned the Man United one, so I'm going to jump. So the year after that, he gets the iconic Everton one where he belts it top corner at Goodison, and that's that one when he's down a touchline. Yeah. And that was obviously his first goal against Everton, and that was a 3-1 win, that was just at the time was just an amazing goal, an amazing win as well. And Gerrard, like, it's always nice when a local lad scores in those games. It's just so much more sweeter, isn't it? But yeah, we just talked about the Man United one where he scores in the final. I'm just looking to see which ones I can remember in those earlier years, and I probably can, but I mean, I don't want to just like be staring at my screen when I'm trying to run the show.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, this like we said before, we're seeing all his greatest goals like in so many YouTube clips over the years. So yeah, everything's kind of floats together. Like, when was that goal? I remember there was a goal against Southampton as well from range, which just bounces off the.
That was early on.
It was early on. You know, the pitch was just all brown and.
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah.
But it's just, you know, one of them goals as well. Like you mentioned, the Everton goal where he just puts it in the top corner and runs across with that face, and he scores against Southampton with that kind of goal. And you know, I think that's probably a little bit later on, but the goal against Middlesbrough.
Yeah,
you know, he got so many goals. So everything kind of floats together. So you can't really. You can see obviously in the clips on YouTube where, you know, what kind of season it was. You know, you can see it on the kit and the shirts and all that. But you cannot tell, was it 2001, 2002, 2002, 2003? That's like impossible some ways because there's so many good goals.
Let's fly through it a bit quicker then. So so that happened. The Man United game, won the League Cup. Obviously Gerrard's vice captain. After the year I've been vice captain. Gerard Houllier said that he recognised Gerrard's leadership qualities early on, but he needed time to mature. But then obviously he takes over from Hyypiä eventually. I think that was a big thing, wasn't it? Because obviously Sami Hyypiä was like a mainstay for us and such a great player. Obviously he stayed 10 years with us and was an amazing signing. Like the fact that he cost it was like $2.5 million. Like he goes down as one of the best ever import to the Premier League by a long way. Definitely top 3 for Liverpool, or top 5 at least. But Gerrard taking over, that was like a show of faith, I suppose, in Gerrard, wasn't it? And I think it was risky because it could have put like undue pressure on him and made him like a bit more, I don't know, a bit more nervous, a bit more. I think like we said, with players being a bit more in the spotlight these days, I think it'd be riskier now because, like, if you, for example, you just went, Klopp was like, Curtis Jones or Trent are going to be the next captain in like the next 4 or 5 years. You'd be like, if it's not someone like, say Henderson was still around the team, which he might be in like 3 years. I mean, obviously as a backup midfielder, but he'll still be captain. Like if you just took it off Henderson and gave it to Trent, we'd be like, it's probably the best move for our longevity and to kind of progress us as a club. But you'd be like, wow, that's a bold move. And I think it was a bold move, but it made Gerrard better. And I think Sami Hyypiä had done an interview, I don't know when, it was obviously a couple of years ago, and got asked about like how he felt about losing the captaincy, and he was like, he wasn't thrilled, but he understood that Gerrard needed to have that boost as a local lad to be given the captaincy, and it kind of helped Sammy Hippie's game as well because there wasn't as much pressure on him. So it worked out perfectly for both, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Sammy said that, he was disappointed in this decision, but he, respected the decision in terms of, like you said, Steven Gerrard actually finding a new level of his game, maybe matured a bit, knew the responsibility of the armband and all that. So I think in that way, it was good for Steven Gerrard, and Steven Gerrard have said, that Sam Hippie was great with him from the start, being, telling him that he will be there helping him out. If there's any, ever any questions or doubts, then he could turn to him and, talk to him. And like you said, Sam Hippie was actually better after, he had the captaincy being taken off him as well. So it was good for both. It was a good decision from Houllier. So yeah, turned out well. But yeah, that's what I said. That's what I read in interviews anyway, that, he was disappointed at the start, but it turned out good.
It turned out perfectly, didn't it, to be fair?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go on to 2004. 2004, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. Suffered a broken toe in a league match against Man United, which sidelined him until late November. And then obviously the 2004-5 season, we're going to be talking about the Champions League run. Of course we are. And obviously the Olympiacos game, we might as well just jump straight to that. That was like just a moment that obviously whenever I see that goal still, I never get bored of watching it. Obviously Andy Gray just like screaming, "Oh, you beauty," and what a hit, son. That's just like, it's so iconic. And it was just like, because I think we needed to win by 2 clear goals, didn't we? And then Rivaldo scores a free kick early doors, and you're like, fuck's sake.
It's like nowadays, we can see the first.
We can see the first, always do it the hardest way. And then who gets Cinema Pongolle gets the equaliser just after half time. Neil Mellor gets the second. Shout out to Neil Mellor. He'll be doing a show with him this week. So I'll be asking him all these questions about that night and whatever else. But he gets the second, and then Gerrard, 86th minute. Neil Mellor's only assist for Liverpool. best only assist ever.
Yeah.
And then Gerrard just rifles it, and it was just in those moments he knew how to pull us out of the shit, didn't he? Basically.
Yeah, I can remember actually watching that game and that goal, because that was 2005, so it was still a bit, you were a bit older and all that, and you could see more games on TV and all that. But I just remember the feeling of like disappointment that, we were, we need to score another goal, and you felt like, oh, we're not going to make it, the time's running out, and then that happens. It's just, you can remember the goal, but then everything after is just like a blur, because you were just jumping, screaming, being crazy. I think I've probably saw it with my dad and my brother. So, we were probably just jumping around, hugging each other, and just, that goal is amazing. I think if I just to pick one goal that is the most important goal and the most beautiful goal in combined, that's the one I pick, I guess. Steven Gerrard against Olympiacos. It's just amazing.
It was.
And to actually have the skills to do it as well, to actually get his body right and actually put it that much power through it and actually get it to go away from the goalkeeper as well.
So
hit
it perfectly, didn't he? Hit it literally perfectly, and it was a perfect way, because obviously that was still a group stages as well. Can't be understated how big that was, like, just to get us through to obviously we still had loads to do at that point, but that was so key in just getting us to that stage, and he was always the man for the occasion. But let's move on a little bit before we get to the other good stuff in Istanbul. He scored an own goal in the League Cup final in the February, which proved decisive as we lost 3-2 after extra time. And that was a bit weird, because that was the time where he was linked to Chelsea all the time. And I remember, like, after he scored that OG, the papers were just like, Gerrard scores his first goal for his new club, Chelsea, because obviously they thought he was going to join them, and he obviously very nearly did. But I remember watching that final, and I was just thinking, oh my God, like, of all the people to get the head on it, and for it to fly top corner, why did it have to be Gerrard? Oh my God, that was just not a good time. But let's move past. Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say that, at the same time, it was maybe good that it was him, because he's just one of the players that that he can actually, pick himself up from it. Some players actually, get that much shit or, feel that down that they never come back the same. But Gerrard is one of them players who actually can shake it off. He might feel a lot, him personally, but in terms of being a professional, he just, kept on going. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, let's move on to the good stuff. I'm just looking through his goals again, actually, now that I'm on it. Everton, he scored against Everton that year in a 2-1 win. But what goal was it? That's the question. Do you remember what goal it was?
No, there's so many. There's so many.
He scored one against Middlesbrough as well. Middlesbrough.
Yeah,
he scored that long distance free kick against Middlesbrough as well. And usually I know every goal, but when you're on the spot and you're thinking about it while recording this, I'll probably get loads of pelters in the comments. I can't remember the goal, but it'll come back to me. So yeah, that happened. That OG, we weren't happy with it. But then we've got to obviously discuss more Champions League stuff. So that season,
he was kind of out against. He wasn't like playing? Well, I can't remember.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Against Leverkusen, but against Juventus, obviously, was Biscan playing, and he was great. Because Gerrard was like, he was suspended or injured in like one or two.
In the Leverkusen, yeah. So we get through the group stages. We play Leverkusen. We beat them 3-1 twice. And if obviously I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know if he plays in any of them. I don't know if he does. I can't remember. But yeah, I remember Biscan. It was Biscan and Haman. I think Alonso was injured as well.
Yeah,
I think Alonso comes back for the Juventus game. I think. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. I just don't remember Biscan being great against Juventus. I can't remember. I just know that Gerrard didn't play. But Biscan did. Who else played, alongside Biscan? I can't remember. But
I think it was Haman, wasn't it? I think it was Biscan and Haman.
Yeah, probably.
I think Alonso was out, and so was Gerrard. And the fact that we battered them. We battered them 3-1 twice. It was 6-2 on aggregate. Yeah. And then we get to Juventus. We beat them 2-0 at home.
Sammy Hippier.
2-1 at home. Sorry. Yeah. Sammy Hippier with the belter left foot volley, and Luis Garcia with the absolutely beautiful volley over Buffon. And then I think we conceded we conceded a fucking sloppy goal towards the end.
You have to correct me now if I'm wrong. I don't know, but did Gerrard actually play like in the first game against Juventus? But it was the away game. Did he play? I can't remember, because did we? It feels like now 2005 is fucking long ago. you feel old and feel like. Yeah.
I'm gonna look right now. People can right. So Gerrard played in the 2-1 win over Juve.
Yeah, because I think even he takes the corner that Sam Hippier scores.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, something's wrong. Right, sorry, something's right.
So for that game, the midfield fours: Garcia, Gerrard, Biscan, Risa, Alonso on the bench.
Yeah, I think it's the away game where he doesn't play, and we really, keep them just, and Biscan is that great. He comes in and everyone's like, okay, and then he's just being brilliant.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have a look actually at that to see what I've got it. So so the midfield. Oh my god, the midfield four. So that obviously 0-0 in Juve. We that's all we needed. We just needed 0-0 because we obviously won 2-1 the first game.
Yeah.
So the midfield was Nunes, Biscan, Alonso, Risa. Wow. Fucking hell, that's it. Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so Juventus were really, really good. So, yeah.
Like, if you look at their team, like Juventus' team, like Buffon, Thuram, Montero, Cannavaro, Camoranesi, Emerson, Zambrotta, Nedved, Ibrahimovic, Del Piero. And you look at ours: Dudek, Finnan, Hippier, Carragher, Traore, Nunes, Biscan, Alonso, Risa, Garcia, and Barros. Good players, but just shouldn't be. It's just mad the way it worked out. Like we were just great under Rafa, like especially in those away games where we just knew how to shut games out, and obviously football's changed loads since then.
Maybe we should just ask Rafa to come back now and tell us how to defend.
Good, actually, couldn't he? Yeah, a little defensive coach.
Yeah.
But and then obviously we beat them, which was amazing, and then we played Chelsea, and ghost goal. But let's just go through, because obviously Gerrard was involved in that goal, because it was the little clip over the top for Barros. Barros then gets absolutely snapped by Czech. So even if Garcia didn't score, it should have been a red card and a penalty.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah, that's correct.
We get it to the final, and it was not a good first half, was it? It was not a good first half.
No, Jimmy Traoré didn't have the best start with that free kick that Maldini scores.
Literally 1 minute on the clock.
Yeah, but that's the thing. What I remember as well, I watched it with friends. I have a few friends that are Liverpool fans. Like they are family, so there's like brothers that are all Liverpool supporters, and we were watching it together. We were like, we couldn't really, understand that we actually made it through to the final with that team without being disrespectful to the players, because we had so many. We went past Leverkusen, Juventus, Chelsea, and they were all great, great teams, and we actually were in the final. And we thought like, oh, come on. Because AC Milan had, world-class player in every position. So we just thought, come on, just give this a chance now. And after I can't remember, 7 minutes or whatever, they scored the first goal. And we were like,
a minute? What, a
minute?
Oh,
sorry, 1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah. Straight away gave away the free kick, literally straight away, and then he's whipped it and scored.
Yeah, you see, and we be like, yeah, we're in the final, come on now. And then like, oh, fuck. Yeah, and then it just that half with the Crespo goals and the ball from Kaka as well, just slides it past Kerry. It's just brilliant. But 3-0 down half time. I just remember sitting in that sofa being numb, feeling like we did all this all the way through to just see this, to just come and not show up.
It was over, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was over. It should have been over. Like the fact that it goes down as like one of the best finals ever, because we won it. Like I just can't believe that we did it. Like just mentioning the Juve team there, like the Milan team was Dida, Cafu, Maldini, Stam, Nesta, Gattuso, Seedorf, Pirlo, Kaka, Shevchenko, and Crespo.
Yeah,
fucking hell, that is like, it's crazy. And obviously half time comes, Finnan goes off for Haman. Obviously, Kuhl got injured, of course. Smitzer comes on for him, and that's in the first half, though. But the change from putting Haman on, I think that was key to kind of stem the Kaká.
Yeah, pick him out of the game. That was just like, yeah.
But and then basically 9 minutes after the restart, Gerrard scores another iconic goal to add to his list, and the header. Obviously, then Clive Tildesley does the hello, here we go. And then that's when we had him on the podcast, and we said, Clive, do you mind doing hello, it's the Cop Out podcast? And he was like, yeah, go on then. So that was nice to talk to him about that. But it was just, even at that stage, I was just like, right, at least we're making a fist of it. At least we've got a goal. But I still didn't think at that time that we'd do it. And the fact that we scored, all 3 goals in like 5-6 minutes.
6 minutes, yeah.
It's crazy. It was mad, wasn't it?
Yeah, because obviously the Gerrard goal is brilliant, just to actually get up and actually have it in that position of the goal where Dida just stood and couldn't do anything, really. So, that's brilliant for Steven Gerrard again. And then I think, Smith receives it from Harman, just passes it across, and he just stops it, and then I'll kind of just take a shot, and it's just margins from actually hitting Barros. Like
Barros to do this.
Yeah, exactly. He just get out of the way, like in a millisecond, like it's and then it goes in, and it's like 3-2, and you can't believe it. So yeah, and seeing the way obviously Gerrard, when he scores, making the crowd, the Liverpool supporters, come on, let's go, and they score with 3-2. That makes another push and belief into it. So when Gerrard then passes through to Barros, so I think it's kind of just flips back, and then Gerrard goes through and then gets dragged down the penalty area, and it's a penalty. So come on,
yeah. Good. Yeah. It was a nice dive, to be fair. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the dive for the penalty. I really,
yeah,
really loved it.
it's probably just false, but it's not a bad
I
one.
loved it.
Yeah, he's
Loved it.
just there. He's just there. Gattuso, he's just there. He feels him a little bit and like, let's go down. And in that in that speed as well, in that position, you will get the penalty because it's will the smallest touch will actually make you fall because he's actually coming in that speed. So
no, it was nice. It was very nice to see. And obviously then Alonso scores, and then
on the
we go
rebounds.
on the rebound, which was even
Yeah.
more fucking terrifying for everyone's heart rate and blood pressure and whatever else. Yeah, fucking hell. And then we go into extra time. Gerrard basically goes like you were saying earlier, like positions. He goes right back basically, and Serginho just like slide tackling him and keeping him quiet. And then there's obviously the Dudek save, which
Best
is like
save I've ever seen.
Fucking like he obviously just didn't know what was going on. Then he just put his hands up and got lucky. It was just a miracle. Like everything that happened was a miracle, to be fair.
But
and
that's
then we get
that the reaction though when like Shevchenko actually, Shevchenko probably one of the best strikers, if not the best striker at the time in the world, actually get that opportunity to score on a half volley. Or first it's actually a header and he stops it, and then he get the half volley. Then he just puts his hands up. It's a brilliant save. It's an iconic save as well. It will go down to legendary saves when you pick them and you check them. The Gerrard Dudek's save against Shevchenko will always be there.
Definitely. It was just one of those that you're like. It was like that was like I think that was maybe the moment where everyone was like, right, we've won it now.
We're gonna do it.
So amazing. You're like, well, how can we not win it now? And then obviously we go on to do it in the pen shootout, which I think obviously Gerrard didn't take one. I think he was designated to take the 5th, but we won it 3-2, and we claimed our first Champions League trophy in 20 years, and it was obviously dubbed the Miracle of Istanbul because, like we've just been saying, that to be 3-0 down, the team we were against, Gerrard just being amazing, just being all over the pitch, just playing in all types of positions. Obviously, Gerrard was named man of the match and later received the UEFA Club Football of the Year award. And then I remember the interview after it, because obviously we was saying about Chelsea and the contract issues and whatever else. And I remember him saying, like, how can I leave after a night like this?
Yeah.
And then obviously it then didn't go that well after that because he very nearly left. But we might as well just jump into that actually while we're talking about it. So he said that how can I leave after a night like this? But then negotiations soon stalled. And on the 5th of July, 2005, Liverpool turned down an offer from Chelsea. Parry conceded that the club had lost Gerrard, saying, now we have to move on. We've done our best, but he's made it clear he wants to go, and it looks pretty final. But the next day, Gerrard signs a new 4-year deal, as Parry blamed the earlier breakdown of talks on miscommunication from both sides. Gerrard stated upon signing the contract that he would rather win one Premier League title with Liverpool than win multiple with Chelsea, as it would mean more to him. Yeah. And I think that was terrifying because obviously after the Champions League win, we think, well, he's definitely staying now because how can he not stay? But then the whole because I remember watching Sky Sports News, I remember it like it was yesterday, and like the ticker at the bottom, like our ticker on there, it was like Steven Gerrard hands in transfer request, and I was just like, I felt like I was in a dream. I was like, or a nightmare, I should say, not a fucking dream. Like how is he leaving now after that performance, that win, like winning our first Champions League final, winning first Champions League trophy for that long? And then obviously I think it was because he just didn't feel valued and he thought like we were, I don't know, just not playing hardball a little bit maybe and not giving him what he wanted. But it all worked out in the end, didn't it? Thank fuck.
Yeah, I remember as well when I read the news like on the Swedish Liverpool page, and I was like, well, it's actually, I think I mentioned it on the Suarez episode as well. It's like the first time and probably the I ever actually felt really, really let down, disappointed, and felt really bad, almost like crying because of a player leaving. Yeah. When Torres left, I felt disappointed, but kind of, okay, let's go. We had Suarez. When Suarez left, yeah, I was disappointed, but you kind of, get older, you can control your emotions another way. But when Gerrard actually were on his way to Chelsea, I felt like I don't want to follow football anymore. You know, I just felt like I know the club will always be, you know, bigger than a single player, but Gerrard for me was so much, you know, what Liverpool is about, and you know he was Liverpool as well. You know, he was carrying the team on his shoulders. So I just felt like he can't lead, you know. But yeah, he was on his way down on the motorway and turned around and came back, signed a deal, and yeah, we were happy. And yeah, good for us. Bad for Chelsea.
It was very, very good for us.
Yeah.
And then that was just an amazing. Obviously, not so good in the Premier League, but that wasn't a focus. Like nowadays, we can focus on. Well, maybe not right now because we're being a bit shit at the minute, which we need to sort out. But like in this era, we're like fighting on both fronts. Whereas back then it was like, well, if we're getting towards the quarterfinals of Champions League, then the Premier League can just basically take a back seat and we'll just focus and put all our eggs in the Champions League basket and try and win that. And to do that with like I said, the team that we did, I think it is a miracle. I really do think it is a miracle. But so let's move on to the year after. Gerrard scores 23 goals in 53 appearances in 05-06. And in April became the first Liverpool player since John Barnes in 1988 to be voted the PFA Players Player of the Year, which is good. And then we go to the 2006 FA Cup final against West Ham, where Gerrard, it's called the Gerrard final, which obviously another, like, what's with the 3-3s? I don't know, like we're recording this today, obviously, and the Brighton game was 3-3, but there's just so many 3-3s at Liverpool, and obviously the Brighton 3-3 wasn't that good, but obviously AC Milan one and the West Ham one were good because we got over the line and we had extra time and penalties to sort ourselves out. But that one was a mad one as well, wasn't it? The whole like going behind, like Carragher own goals, like just it just felt like it was another one of those like West Ham have got to the final. Are they actually going to beat us? And then the fact that we went. Carragher own goal, 21st minute, and Dean Ashton makes it 2-0, 28 minutes.
Yeah,
Cisse gets us back in it. 4 minutes later, Gerrard then scores his first belter, which was a very good goal, I think, but obviously overshadowed by his second one. But I thought the first goal was really good as well.
Yeah. It's, technical ability just to actually keep it down when he comes in to actually hit that, to actually keep it under the bar, because it's so very easy. You can now overhit that one and it just goes out in the crowd, in the stand. So that's a brilliant goal. And I think it's Steven Gerrard who passes the ball to Djibril Cisse as well. That ball, over the top of the defenders and just perfectly down on Cisse's feet to just actually, just put it down and score. I don't know if it's, I can't remember if it actually takes a touch and then, or he's actually finishes off straight away. But that's that's a great pass. That's what we talked about as well. What a pass. It's just brilliant. So actually do the assist for Djibril Cisse, that brilliant assist, and then score the first goal, which is brilliant, and then obviously his second goal from that far out, just saying obviously afterwards that he was just cramped up, and if it wasn't for that, he probably would have contained the ball and actually found a better option, but he just thought go for it, and then with his ability to score them kind of goals from distance and actually his power in shooting, it's just, I remember I was in Cyprus then. I was 20, so I was like, yeah, come on, partying.
Loving life.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just remember sitting in a bar. It was real, real hot, and just drinking loads of beers, and there was quite a lot of Liverpool support as well. So just having a great party. But I just remember, talking about Gerrard with people like, you can't believe what you're seeing, because this kind of player being so important for a team, to score them kind of goals in such, important games as well. Like we talked about Champions League final, we talked about this Gerrard final. He always pops up when you most need him, and you always deliver. So, I just remember it was just a great party and a great day and night.
Yeah, and like when you look back, like the Konchesky goal, like to make it 3-2 to West Ham, which is the flukiest fucking goal ever. The fact that he then goes on to sign for us and be extra shit is just another level. But yeah, the Gerrard, Gerrard to make a 3-3 was just. You're not going to see many better goals than that ever, to be honest. Like the fact that how far out he was, like fucking hell, just like it's literally, like you said, he was obviously dead on his feet. He just had to hit it. But Gerrard, the clear striker of a ball that he was, if you wanted to land to anyone at that time in a game like that, where you can just hear like the announcer saying, like how many minutes injury time there's going to be, and then he just goes, fuck it, bottom corner, bang.
It's unbelievable, you know. Yeah, when we talk about it now, when you start to like, you know, getting all the memories and the pictures back in your head about, you know, from that game, it's just amazing. It kind of gives me, you know, goosebumps now when we talk about it, because the feelings and the emotion that it gave you when he scored them kind of goals, you know, you get them today as well. But I think, you know, being a little bit younger as well, not today, you've been kind of formed of football a bit as well. You kind of, I don't get the same emotional things going on. Obviously, I did when we won the Premier League, and I did when we won the Champions League as well in 2019 and all that, when we scored and Origi scored. But it doesn't happen as often as it did like back then, when you were a little bit younger and a little bit wilder, maybe. And Gerrard was in the time where you actually used going crazy. So when he scored and popped up in those important games, it made me feel so much. You know, that's the thing. And that's what I kind of miss in football in one way. I don't get the same kind of feelings as I did back then. And that's a bit sad, but that was brilliant to have those feelings when Gerrard did all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, amazing.
It was really amazing. But Kristian, I'm thinking we should do this as a two-parter, you know, because I'm just thinking there's too much stuff to go through. I don't want to miss stuff because we're on 2006. We've got another 9 years to go through here.
Yeah,
so I reckon we leave it at the West Ham game, and I reckon we do another one. Obviously, we release this as part one. Obviously, we didn't say it was going to be part one at the beginning because I'm just thinking now it's like we're nearly at an hour. And I feel like people might, if it's a 3-hour show, people might just be like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, but then, you know, people who, you know, enjoy these kind of episodes, they have something to look forward to. You know, episode 1, episode 2. You know, it's not a bad thing. So I agree with you. I just thought, you know, before we finish, I just want to go back, you know, till like 2001. Is it when England plays Germany? Because there was things, you know, on Twitter now when they played, you know, the other weekend.
5-1.
Yeah, and I always go, you know, saying, you know, it was Liverpool, you know, winning 5-1 against Germany because it's Heskey scores, Owen scores, Gerrard. But it's just that, you know, I remember, you know, Gerrard is like only 21 because he's born 80. He was 21 and he was just, you know, being boss on that midfield against Germany, who's, you know, a good side back then as well. But you just kind of think sometimes, you know, the kind of player and talent he was, because nowadays we talk about the, you know, Declan Rice, we talk about Phillips, we talk about Foden and Grealish, and, you know, how they are great and all that. But, you know, you look at Steven Gerrard, he was, if it wasn't for him missing out in 2000 for the Euros as well with an injury, you know, he would have been 20 and actually playing in that midfield as 20-year-old in that midfield with Beckham and I can't remember what, but it was a great team, and that was like the start of the golden generation as well with Lampard, Gerrard, and all that kind of stuff. But it just tells how actually good he was and how many managers rated him, that he was actually playing in those kind of games as a 20, 21-year-old, being, you know, bossing around in the England midfield. And sometimes you forget that. We always talk about him playing in Liverpool, but he was actually, you know, a major player for England as well.
Yeah, I think there's someone clipped up that game, and like just Gerrard versus Lampard, Gerrard versus Germany in that game, and all the stuff that he did, like just just basically taking the piss out of their midfield and just like running rings around them. And it's just like that was what it was all about, and it was just amazing to watch. Like even like I said, for obviously when I was a bit younger, I supported England a bit more than I do now. Obviously, I don't now because it's just like I can't be arsed. Like it's just boring. But back then, I was actually into it. Like when I was like 9 and 10, I actually did watch, and because obviously we had a lot of Liverpool players in there as well. So I was more interested in what England were going to do rather than now. But yeah, so we've got to the West Ham game. Amazing goal. We win the FA. cup Gerrard scores, obviously one of the pens as well, and we lift the trophy, and that's like amazing, absolutely amazing, especially after Istanbul and another 3-3, another fucking just putting like 5 years on your life, just Liverpool just doing it the hardest way they could. But we were going to try and do this in one, weren't we, Kristian, to be fair? But now that we've spent an hour and we've got from 98 to 2006, that's like we've done 8 years. I reckon it's going to take another 40 minutes or so.
Finished off with 2 trophies though, the Champions League trophy and the FA Cup trophy is not bad. So we will probably, when we're going to start this again, the next episode, the years that were coming after the 2006 FA Cup trophy, we thought maybe more silverware were going to come with the teams that we actually got. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man. It's all good. It's all good talking about Stevie G, and we can do it another part 2 very soon. Might actually release this one, and then should we release them together? I reckon we release them separately. Obviously, we'll have to come back and do part 2 anyway. But nice one for watching so far. I know an hour is a bit daunting because I know myself, when you're like scrolling for YouTube and you click on a video and you're like, oh, fucking hell, it's an hour. Can I be asked? Shall I scrub through it and just watch bits of it? So if you've watched all of it so far or listened, then we fucking really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
That's why it's good. It's audio as well, because then you can watch if you like, but then you can swap over to audio and go to where you were if you're working or traveling or whatever you do. Just listen instead.
Yeah, definitely. Because we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google, Deezer. I think pretty much if you just search the Cop Eye Podcast anyway, then you'll be able to find us. We're on pretty much all of them, if you prefer to do that. If you watch 20 minutes of it on YouTube and then you're like, oh shit, I've got to go out, listen to the rest of the 40 minutes on your phone, on your travels or whatever. But yeah, nice one everyone for listening or watching. Do leave us a like and subscribe, or leave us a rating or a review on audio. It really does help us. So that was Steven Gerrard, Player Profiles, episode 2, part 1, because he was just at the club for fucking far too long and done too many amazing things. We can't fit it in. Because I remember when I put this tweet up that this was next, people were like, you might have to do a 3-hour show or do like a 3-parter. And I was like, nah, that'd be fine. And then since we started and you're getting into goals and trophies and celebrations and tackles and fucking assists, it's just too difficult. But yeah, nice one everyone for if you're still listening and we're still watching, we really appreciate it. A nice one to Kristian for joining me, and we'll see you for part 2. It might just be me and Kristian, or we might have someone else with us as well, actually, to jump in and have an extra body with us for the second part. So, but we'll see. And nice one, and we'll see you for part 2 very soon.